What's up, everyone out there, and welcome back to Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets. It's The Mix, presented by Mayo MediaNet and powered by Jock Market here on YouTube, the best daily fantasy app there is. Who am I? No, it is not a new host. It's the old host with a new voice. Holy cow, I'm sick as a dog. I think I'm dying, and you could probably, most definitely, hear it in my voice. So today's show, I'm going to try and really push it through. I'm going to drag this big old carcass into the end zone, hopefully, and somehow get that touchdown dance that we love so much. Welcome back, everybody. Love you all so much. Rate, review, and subscribe to the audio-only pod. Please download the Jock Market app. We're doing really well. God, I love the app so much because it really helps us stick out for being sharp. It helps you play around even and not have to refill your account all the time. You know, you miss a bet by a yard here or there, and you end up with nada. That's not what we're about. We're about this, the fastest show in NFL, absolutely anywhere, with your host, John Laghezza, at John Laghezza, the big man with the not-so-big mouth today from the Big Apple. Gosh, I sound awful. Please excuse the lozenge I have jammed. I'm going to be trying to keep the old throat lubricated. Keep those jokes to yourself so I could get through this, man. Love this show. Love y'all. I would never miss it for the world. It's Thursday night foosball. We got the Titans at the frozen tundra in Green Bay. Man, maybe I should use that gnarly voice. It's coming out a little bit stronger because it's such a disaster. I absolutely love it. And if you roll with me, then I know you do too, because life is all about working on the fly. Very rarely are things set up perfectly for us. That's just the way it is. So let's do what we do so well. It's your blue chip stocks, brought to you by Jock Market. Again, it's Titans and it's Packers. We're using Run the Sims projections. These are the highest projected players on each team. Top 5 on each side. For the Titans, it's Henry at 19.7, and then a massive teardrop by percentage down to Tannehill at 11.6. Then that number is cut nearly in half to get the Burks and Woods at near 7. Also Dontrell Hilliard, 6.5. I often talk about not overreacting to the projections, but letting them speak to us. And wow, talk about top heavy. So automatically, Henry is always in the conversation for being the top player on a Jock Market showdown. However, he popped up on the injury report a couple weeks ago with this foot. I don't know if it's the same foot or a different foot, but it kind of got brushed away. Then he ended up in the tent last Sunday. He said he was just had to go to the bathroom. Maybe it's fine. But the thing that speaks to me is the utilization, right? We know coaches lie, GMs lie, coordinators lie. That's what they do for a living. The thing they can't hide is utilization on the field. Henry racked up 90 carries, just 9-0, over 3 games. And then we had that injury pop up, quote-unquote ghost injury. He wasn't missing practice. I don't overreact. But again, we saw the subsequent drop in usage. Maybe they're protecting him. Maybe it's more than it let on. But when Henry is going from 30 carries to, I think, around 20 touches, and you're cutting that load by a third, given the rest of the talent base, this team becomes hard to back. I would have loved to get on the Titans against the Packers. I don't think the Packers are any good. I think they had the one breakout game against the Cowboys. Cowboys were 190 million and up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Of course, we had money on the Cowboys. They wet the bed. Those things happen. But more importantly, I don't think one quarter makes a good Packers team. Let's look at the Packers projections. There's Rodgers at 19, Lazard at 15.5 with Aaron Jones, same 15.5. Christian Watson at 14, Titanian at 9. I mean, just look at that. Though Henry is the highest player on the slate, everybody on the Packers is basically projected for the rest of the Titans team, right? So it's Henry and Tannehill in the double digits. Everyone else below 7. Packers with 4 players above 13. So this really, by projections, you would think might not be as close as the 3-point spread. But again, I think the market is hip to that. The Packers really up and down. They really move slow. And the Titans defense is very, very tough up front, and they do things a little bit differently than the rest of the league. Let's dive into the handicapping that we do so well. Gosh, I'm so sorry about the voice. Titans defense, right? Very, very good. 19 points allowed. That's top 3. 0.07 EPA per snap. Top 5. 70% drive success rate allowed. Also probably top 8. So it's good overall. But they've turned themselves into a pass funnel. So what that means is when the rush defense is excellent, check this out, minus 28% rush to DVOA, 3.6 adjusted line yards, 21 attempts for 85 yards, sub 4 running back yards per attempt. Those are all like top 1, 2, or 3 worst. What ends up happening is teams end up abandoning the run against the Titans, going with the pass. So you see these volume stats rack up against the Titans D. The pass DVOA is only 2%, which is not terrible, because they do get a lot of sacks, 29 sacks. They get a lot of pressure without blitzing. Keep that in mind. It's what we'll be talking about. But those volume stats do tend to rack up. So Titans defense on the season allowing 40 attempts, 26 completions, 272 yards. Now the sub 7 yards per attempt, sub 10.5 yards per completion are not bad. Those are probably right about average. So you just got to keep an eye on how these things are being built up. It's not like, oh my God, the Titans pass defense is terrible. It just becomes a function of how good the run defense is. No one has run against these Titans at all. It's been extremely difficult. Let me get out the log here. I saw it the other day. It was just crazy. So Barkley racked them week 1. So think about how all those averages are so low, and they have a $164 week 1. After that, the Buffalo is not that great, but Cook topping out at 53. The Buffalo offense combined for like right around 100. The Raiders, under 100. Jonathan Taylor, 42. The Redskins, under 100. Topped out. It's crazy. Then the Colts again, 58 from Taylor. The Texans, 35 from Pierce. 11 rushing yards against the Chiefs and 48 rushing yards against the Broncos. So the game log is just ridiculous. And again, the totals, teams are abandoning it, so that's where that funnel term that I mentioned comes up. I hear people use it. I don't know if anyone necessarily understands it. So the matchup, I really tough to say. I think it leans in favor of the Titans. I would have really liked the Titans to win outright, except I'm a bit worried about Henry. And again, he's I forget the stir that draws a drink. He's not just the engine. He's the fuel inside of it. Titans offense on the season. Whoa, whack. Oh, they're whack. 18 points a game, 56 plays, 281 yards a game. Those are all bottom 3. 5 yards a play, minus 0.09 EPA per snap. Bottom 3, 31.5 seconds per play. They're one of the slowest teams in the league. Also, I should have mentioned that with Green Bay. I mentioned it, but that also in the bottom 5 in both seconds per play and neutral seconds per play. Those things lean very well towards unders. The total's 41, so it's hard to go under 41, but be careful looking for explosions, even if you do think, well, Watson was awesome, and he's going to get behind the Tennessee defense. I'm going to score again. Even if they do, both teams move so slow and like to run so much, particularly on the Tennessee side. It's going to be tough. So we know the Tennessee run game is very strong. 4 3/4 adjusted line yards, 30 attempts for 133 yards, more than 4 3/4 running back yards per attempt. But the pass game is just terrible. Yes, there's some bad Malik Willis in there, but he's pretty bad as well. They're averaging 23 attempts, only 14 completions for less than 150 yards per game. Packers defense very strong against the pass, minus 7% pass DVOA, 28 attempts, allowing only 18 completions for $179. That $179 is in the top 3. Packers allowing only 320 yards per game on the season. And if you zoom on out and in to the last 4, the Titans defense really lighting up the board. All those same kind of consistent metrics. 4.5 yards of play, 2.5 snaps per splash play. Those are top 3. Top in allowing opposing scoring drives. 62 rush yards a game, 3.16 yards per rush. But again, teams are abandoning the run, going to the pass. 28.5 completions, 253 yards per game. Again, the rate stats on those pass rates, not good. So the reason I keep hammering that stuff home is because that's where I think we have to go with this. So, Titans, I think they lead the league in too high coverage. The damage the Packers did with Watson was all against man. Watson's a physical freak, But I still think he has some sharpening to do as far as route running, separation. Like, again, he's going to separate from raw skills, but a single man chasing him, especially East and West, going to have a very hard time keeping up. The Titans are the top 2 high coverage team. They're also the top pressure team in the league with the lowest amount of blitzes. So that combination is not great for Watson. And it's not great for the continuation of this Packer explosion we saw. So I'm off of that. I think the Rodgers projections are too high. I think we need to be looking for the zone options. That's Lazard and Tanyan, the guys that work underneath, right? So Tennessee, we're expecting them to get pressure without the blitz. So it means they're not sending a lot of men, 4 or 5 tops. Rodgers is going to look to get it out deep, and especially we mentioned the way they've capitalized against man and not zone. So Titans side, Packers defense, run funnel, right? Opposite side. So edge to the Titans run game. Packers run D, 9% rush DVOA, 5.25 adjusted line yards, 29 attempts for $140 on the ground, more than 5 running back yards per attempt. If you think Henry is good, but again, it's a short stint. So if this game was on Sunday, I'd probably be smashing Henry, smashing the Titans. I'm worried with the reduced workload and the short week that Henry doesn't get to 30 attempts. Is he going to need it to get it done? I don't know. He's certainly a pop, too. The problem with Henry, if they fall behind, I'm not saying he gets scripted outright out of it, but those value touches, particularly through the passing game, we've seen Hilliard, he got 46% of snaps, I think, in the last game. So, though the touches are not there, the workload's still Henry's. You could see a world where Hilliard, who's done damage, he leads the team in red zone targets to give you an idea of how bad the Titans' pass game is. So, there is a pathway where Henry gets scripted out. He's certainly the key to this game for the Titans because of the Packers' inability to stop the run. The Titans' inability to pass the rock with the Packers' strong pass defense really hurts them on that side, keeping me away from the Titans' smash. So I think it's Henry, but you have to temper expectations. I actually really like Hilliard as a sneak tip. We'll get to that as values. And on the other side, of course, Rodgers has a chance to pop it, but we haven't seen him go nuts. I'm going to let people pay for that. I'm also going to let people pay for Christian Watson. So my blue chips here are Allen Lazard, Robert Tonyan on the Packer side, and then, of course, Derrick Henry. So that's our first pillar of profit as I drag this big old carcass across the 50-yard line. Let's get into the value stuff, but first, let me regain my composure, catch my breath, and lube that throat. But first, if you think I've deserved it, and maybe you learned something about this game or a way to go after this Jock Market slate, please press the like button. Cartoon fingers matter way more than they should. Rate, review, and subscribe. All that lovely stuff that I hate to ask you for, but again, it just matters. So, all right, let me catch my big old breath. Okay, it's the second pillar of profit here at The Mix on Mayo Media Net, brought to you by Jock Market. Our penny stocks are the best values. We're using Run the Sims projections and DK pricing with Jock Market projected IPOs to come up with the best players on a cost per point basis. 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 5 wideouts, and a tight end as always. Audio-only listeners, feel free to jump over to YouTube. All this information is all in one spot, so you can refer to it. It makes a really useful cheat sheet. It is extremely useful. And the feedback, I appreciate everybody, because I do put in a lot of work to get these graphics out. So even though simple, hey man, thanks so much, this has helped me get into the black. This has helped me further my understanding. That's the reason why I do it. So it's Rodgers and Tannehill. This one's going to be really tough. I don't think I'm going to play conventional DFS today. Rodgers projected for 19 at a 10.4 salary, 550 cost per point, 72% ownership. So if you're not buying the Packers offense bounce back, again, we've seen, when you're looking for upsets, I should say this, it's defense at the core of it. So that's why Tennessee is a pop to win this game. They're really strong up front, and that's how you throw quarterbacks, right, off their game by getting them off their spot. I can't pay the 10K. I can't get with the 72 ownership. I can't get with the 14.4 IPO. Rodgers may be a short candidate today. Ryan Tannehill, the projection for 12 points at 9.6 salary. Yikes, his cost per point is 8.28. Think about that. Similar salary. totally disparate projection. And that's why the cost per point is so dissimilar. If you are playing conventional DFS, it's Rodgers greater than sign. Tannehill, I'm not touching the $10 IPO either. Dontrell Hilliard, I already mentioned, he's probably my favorite value on the board. We know the Packers are run funnel. We know the Titans love to run the rock. We know Henry is not quite 100%. So given the projection at 6.5, 3.2 salary, leaves us with one of the lowest sub cost per point, which is sub 500 on a showdown, pretty good. 30% ownership. He's going to be hard in conventional DFS because I don't know if he can break the slate. Though I guess if he gets into the end zone, which again, he's a red zone target. Could. I'm looking at the 364 IPO. So Hilliard is my Jock market play for today. Henry, who of course we really like, 20-point projection, 11.6, 589 cost per point. The ownership 70%. If I had to get to one chalk, it's Henry, of course. The $18 IPO I'm really struggling with because he's got to be one of the top 2 players. Again, he should be, but any player that gets scripted out, I can't go over, $15 for. And again, I'm cheap and I'm honest about that, but let's not be ridiculous. It's very, very difficult you're stacking the odds against yourself, let's say, once you go over $18 and eliminating yourself from profiting in that third slot. That's got to be it for me. That's why you really 16, 17 should be the top for any kind of blue chip. Aaron Jones, last running back, 15 projection, 11.2 salary. Yeah, he has really, really gotten the hyper focus of the offense. But again, if you look at the game log, it's a rush defense thing. When the Packers can run, they stuff it down your throat. And when they can't, I think they recognize that and pivot away. Again, we've seen that in the game logs from Jones. Dallas easier to run against than pass, 24 attempts. Same Buffalo, they had 30 attempts on the ground that game. Excuse me. Washington, a lot harder to run against, right? That solid 7, like I mentioned. There you see the carries in the single digits for both. And I think that is really kind of the running theme, how you're going to get to where these. Tampa Bay, same thing. Tampa Bay was healthy, week 3 up front, and only 24 combined carries, Jones and Dillon. So I think, again, we'll see them pivot away. I think the rushing unders are totally cromulent today. So those are the value running backs. Wide receivers, Samari, Torre, I just can't touch that because the 223 IPO just gave me the 364 Hilliard. If I'm looking to bottom scrape and do the catfish thing, I'd much rather Henry with Watson playing, and now he is playing. I think Torre is out. I mentioned Watson. People are going to be chasing him. The IPO is probably going to go north of 11. His ownership is probably going to go north of 56, and I'm out. All of the damage, all of it, every single bit of it was against man coverage. So against his zone, Packers a bit of a different team, and in particular, Watson. I don't even know if they did. Yeah, they target him in the zone. He had 2 targets against the zone last week. It was 1 catch for 3 yards. Now we want to be, give me Lazard and Tanyan. Those are the more highly targeted zone players on the season, and it's really not even close. They've stood out as also Dobbs, but now he's out. So Tanyan, the leading Packer target getter against the zone, 37 targets, 30 catches, 254 yards on the season. Then it's actually followed by Aaron Jones and then Lazard. They've been pretty similar, about 150 yards, 24 targets apiece, roughly. It was 23 and 25. So that's why I like the zone sitters today. So we're going Lazard, and we're going to go Tanyan. He's at the bottom. Rack him up. Love that value across the board. Projected for 9 points. I think that's low. 5.8 salary. Love the deal. 652 cost per point. I think is off because the point projection is off. 32 ownership, as low as she's going in these showdowns, and the 546 IPO. So I think Tanyan really checks the box across the board. I'm having trouble getting to the Tennessee wideouts with good reason. I've got some cool pass stats here. So yeah, it's really, really ugly. Probably no surprise there. Like, so funny we're talking about like Robert Woods, leading the way. He's done absolutely nothing last 4 games. He's run 84 routes. He has 7 catches in 4 games for 62 yards. That's 15 and a half receiving yards a game, 31 air yards a game. It's just really, 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 really rough. We saw a Keeney break out. It's with a 1-off. You chase that. That's how you get in trouble. Then we finally saw Burks come back. I think he's the guy that you want to be looking for. But is the health there? I'm not sure. And he led the way, after Akine, he went 3 for 24. It's just a really, really rough scene for the Tennessee pass. Oh, but it's also funny because it's yes, like they're bad when we put them up against the field, but they get it done. They're winning games, right? They're 6-3 in the playoffs. So you're not going to find them like pivoting away and changing. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost in translation in the gambling sphere when we get into real football, where like teams that are winning and doing it their way, they do not care at all. They'll throw the ball, and we've seen that especially this season. Teams will throw the ball 14, 15 times, and they win it. No problem. That's fine. That's exactly what we're going to do. Expect a ton of Henry. Expect a ton of Hilliard. The pricing for Henry is tough, but the more we talk through it, the more I think they're going to give it to him as long as he can get it. And then we're just predicting injuries. I've been snake bitten by injuries. If you're following my prop work on Patreon, I'm very sorry. Yikes. 3 of the last 7 prop plays I put out, guys have left the game injured. And that's just what it is. Just what it is. Really not much you could do about it. Judy, the first play. Juju, first drive. And then Goddard hurt after he had his 3 catches. We needed 2 more. So maybe that's part of it. I have seen studies that say if a player plays, their production is not thrown off that much. My problem is we're still expecting Henry to get 20. We just need him to get 30. And that's that over hyper usage that I don't know if we could bank on. So I'm really kind of turned off to this game because of all the kind of mixed and moving pieces. And the fact the public is going to be chasing parts that I don't like. So this really sets up a really interesting manner. I got to get on this short stuff because I think it aligns right. Let's do the last lesson we always talk about is being consistent. You don't have to bet every game. You don't have to love every slate. You don't have to be over on every game. You don't have to do anything. Particularly when you do your analysis and it leads you in that direction. Shorting on Jock Market on these standalone games, especially on Thursday, maybe like the ultimate edge that no one is talking about. So I think that's really it for me, right? If Tannehill IPOs, he's not going to go for $10. He's going for $12. If he's over $12.50, you short him. If Rodgers above 15, you short him. Don't know if you short Henry, but I think you could short Watson. And man, yeah, a couple of these guys on Tennessee as well, because we know the bottom is 0, right? If Woods is anywhere near that $6 projection, I think you got to smash him. His last 4 games, he has 7 catches. It's unbelievable. The offense is not prolific. He is not part of it. He's not running the routes that are conducive to Tannehill's game. He's just not in. And with Burks back, you can forget about him. So, man, I got to start coming up with these bear list, right? The bear cave. Let's do it. So, give me Hilliard, right? We have Hilliard, Lazard, and Tanya. And those are the value plays we like. And then if I were doing a bear cave, I'm shorting the Tennessee pass catchers and Tannehill above $12.50. So maybe that's our next little thing. I'll be adding the last feather in the cap. The ball is in the red zone. I am pulling myself to the end of this thing. Hopefully, you're enjoying it and learning something as always. I do always appreciate the feedback. You can comment, rate, review, and all that good stuff. Hit me up on Twitter at John Laghezza. Hit up the network handle at Mayo Media Network. We love to hear from you. And hey, never a bad thing to let my boss know how good of a job I'm doing. All right, let's get the ball in the end zone. I got a couple of long, odd player props for you, but first let the big man catch a big old breath. All right, we are in the goal-to-go scenario where we get the big man the ball so I can get in the end zone, start dancing, so I can finally lay down and try and get better. It's your Week 11 Thursday night football props brought to you by Jock Market. Love the daily app. We're going to make some money. Use the promo code MMN. They're going to match the first $100 for free. If it's free, it's for me. We walked you through the analysis already for the audio-only listeners. I won't leave you in suspense. We like 2 alt props. So again, man, I've had a bit of a rough go betting props lately. One of my problems always is I think my tickets are too narrow. I try and focus on one play, and if the guy gets hurt or misses, you lose. Where if you drop a more robust ticket with higher odds, you could put yourself in a better scenario to profit, even if it's less, without increasing your risk. And I think that's probably the most important lesson, something we talk about all the time. Just because you see 2 bets does not mean double the risk. It's just the opposite, okay? That is the thing that kills me. It's not it kills me if people put out 20 bets. Like, you can do that. But if you bet a unit a bet and you have 20 bets, you can't bet 20 units. That's just not how it works. If you normally bet 10 units per slate, per day, per event, and now you have 2 bets, it should be 5 per, not 10 times 2. So there's a really good lesson for the betting people out there, the newbies that want to learn how to stop having to, keep depositing, right? And that's the best way to do that, is to predetermine your daily allotted risk and work backwards. All right, enough of that. We need more of this. It's your 2 props. Both of them are alt props, right? So we love the long odds. I got Alan Lazard over 60 at plus 178. We got Robert Tonyan over plus 40. I saw this one jamming all over the place, but I saw it at plus 155 also. But even if it's 125, 135, that's fine, because the idea being, if you split your daily risk with these 2 plays and we get 1, you got a nice hit by percentage. If we get them both, now you're rolling, and I think the table is set for both of them. We mentioned it already. The Titans basically force opposing teams to pass. They also use the most amount of too high shell, paired with a very effective front 4/5 that gets the most amount of pressures in the league on the lowest amount of blitzing. So that really just feeds its way right into these players. Everyone's going to be chasing Watson in the ceiling game with the blow up. Again, it was all against man coverage. Dallas runs a lot of man. They're very aggressive in the secondary. The Titans are not that, okay? They're not that. And after the game he just had, I wouldn't be surprised if Watson is seeing, attention, seeing a bracket, getting man with a bracket shell like this. I'm having a hard time getting to where they're going to let him do that again. That would open up for the players that Rodgers has targeted in the zone, which are Lazard and Tonyan. Those are the 2 most popular targets for Aaron Rodgers in the zone. Tonyan is actually the target leader, 37. Right behind him was actually Dobbs, who's out, which opens up even more. Jones has gotten work along with Lazard. Those are really the top target getters, the only players with double-digit target rates against the zone. Lazard, again, not a tremendous yardage guy, but to get this level alt prop, right? We're talking about a 2nd or 3rd level of alt prop at such a low bar, right? He's gone over his last 4, 76, 55, 87, and 45, right? And again, that 45 in the last game is because, Watson's blowing the top off the defense. They had no time to get it. So we are getting decent ADOT, and I think this really slides into a good matchup. Expect the Packers to abandon the run, like we've said, against good defenses. Good run defenses have had the Packers abandon the run. They have no problem, dropping back 100 times because they trust Aaron Rodgers in his shotgun. And if that's the case, I do believe it'll be Tonyan and Lazard, the guys kind of sitting in that zone. And the reason why I split them is not just because of the big odds, because I didn't know where it was going to go. The usage, they're so similar. I would hate to wreck Lazard and have it be Tonyan, or vice versa. And again, there's that lesson of sustainability. Splitting those odds, putting yourself in a position to succeed nicely if either get across the finish line. So there's a lesson for everybody, including myself. Give us Lazard over 60 at 178, Tonyan over 40 at 150, let's call it. Those Week 11 Thursday Night Football props. I think we're going to get one. Hopefully we get them both. And I also like the fact that, not saying you get on a single play, but you get on a single play even if we're down, right? If the Packers get way ahead, even that could benefit them, because it's almost hard to see them getting scripted out of running the ball, right? If, let's say the Packers get ahead 2 scores, how many times are they going to smash their head into the Tennessee rush deep, which is like an Iron Curtain style? Maybe not too often, especially if they are struggling to defend the run with Derrick Henry. So this really feels like a kind of dogfight, which lends itself to these low ADOT guys. So I really like the Lazard play. I really like the Tonyan play, both in the prop market, in conventional DFS, and for Jock market. And that will do it. Ba-ba-ba-ba-boom. Wow. thank you for picking up what I'm putting down. This was truly a labor of love from yours truly, and it does mean the world to me, right? That the things that I talk about, I try and do myself. Hard work, controlling the things that we can, like work ethic, right? I can't control where the ball's going to go. I don't control the bounces or the commercial breaks. But I do control my own risk management. I do control my own portfolio. I do control my own emotions. So those are the things we really want to stay on top of. And that's probably the last lesson for today. So please rate, review, and subscribe. Make sure you download the Jock Market app. I forgot to pump the promo code. It's MMN. That first $100 is more than enough to do some damage. I would not overextend myself and use the free cash on blue chippers. I would, buy a share or two of Dontrell Hilliard if I'm trying to be cheap. But if I were a newbie, I think your best bet, again, this is how you know it's good advice because you don't hear it anywhere else, is not to play with live cash on the showdown for the first-time players. Learn the system, get used to the app, see the speed of play, track your progress on paper, and when you get to the main slate where you could really do damage, where there's tons of $2, $3, $4 players that have a chance of busting it open, that's where you take the promo cash like I did. I've never deposited. I'm using the original $20 promo from when they first opened, and now we're in thousands, right? I'm up whatever 15,000% or something stupid like that. So again, thanks for picking up what we're putting down. Your wallet means the world to me, right? I think I probably care about your money more than I do my own because I've been there, right? I've been on the other side where I've needed it and I've had to buckle down and made it work, where I've fed my family gambling and trading and doing that stuff. And while I don't recommend it, I do think it's a fantastic way to get a secondary income. Learn the tenets of small business, responsibility, discipline, answering to yourself, making your own hours. These things are huge, right? I'm not into flashy stuff. So for some people, wealth is a watch. Wealth is a 12-cylinder car. For me, I own everything I have. Wealthy people own, poor people rent, right? It's not to knock anybody's dollar again. It's a method. Remember, I don't care about the dollar amount. It's about the process here. That's how we do it. So hopefully some of these lessons, even resonate and beyond sports gambling, and maybe you use them in your real life value application and all that stuff. So, all right, that'll do it. Remember, we love Henry, especially if you believe he's fine. We love Hilliard as a backup to get a red zone target. We're fading Watson. We're fading the Tennessee pass catchers. And we're all over the zone targets, right? The low A-dot guys. That's Lazard and Tanyan. So thank you so much, everybody. Rate, review, and subscribe. 5-star review is the compliment, the tutti compliment. Grazie mille for all your time, all your interactions. You guys really do mean the absolute world to us here at Mayo Media Net. So thanks so much for picking up what we're putting down. And remember, when you work this hard, right, when you push through, when you make it happen, it feels a lot less like luck, yo. Peace.